What's up, everyone? BNC Bills News Consolidated. I just want to talk about the Buffalo Bills, talk about everything going on, man. I know the season kind of ended rough. We dealt with a lot. We went through a lot throughout the season, but in this video, I kind of want to go player by player, discuss all the problems one by one, even starting with Brandon Beane, the GM. And heading into the season, I think Brandon Beane did an excellent job, right? I think he did the best that he could, bringing in Von Miller, Jamison Crowder, Roger Saffold, right? Retaining guys, making sure that we had continuity, but also bringing in these players that were going to make the Buffalo Bills great, right? Aaron Cromer, new offensive line coach. You know, it's sad to see Brian Dable leave, right? The other thing that we lost, too, is Davis Webb, right? Davis Webb going to the Giants following Brian Dable was a huge loss. And we heard players, even Josh Allen last year, talk about what a huge role Davis Webb was on that practice squad team, repping opposing teams in practice, getting Josh Allen on the right page every single week. We lost that. We lost that this year. I think those were out of Brandon Beane's control. And Brandon Beane, before the season started, did an excellent job getting the Buffalo Bills ready to go, getting all the players that we needed to make a run. I mean, you can't foresee all the injuries and everything that unfolded this year. Now, the one thing I would give Brandon Beane some issue with here is not reacting fast enough during the season. So before the season, I think he did all the right moves, but in the season, I think he was a little bit reluctant to make those moves. And normally he makes moves right away. Even like the Cole Beasley signing, like bringing in Cole Beasley that late, you can clearly see that we brought in Jamison Crowder and Isaiah McKenzie, re-signed him to share that role. They were going to share the reps, and even Brandon Beane stated that at the end of the season press conference. And then when Jamison Crowder went down, we just were like, oh, okay, we're just going to rely on Isaiah McKenzie. But really, that didn't work. We still needed Cole Beasley. Like, we should have went out and got Cole Beasley right at that point. What was that, week 2, week 3? And we were sitting there watching Cole Beasley on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was wild. It was wild. So that was just one area I think I would give him a little flack for. You look at the teams like the Chiefs, like Philadelphia, they do make trades throughout the year. Like, they make trades. Like, Philadelphia traded for that cornerback. Excellent trade. And that's just, it puts you over the top. But I think our over the top was Von Miller. Moving on, Sean McDermott. These offensive coordinator, Ken Dorsey, Leslie Frazier, a lot of people putting them on the hot seat, calling for them. And, you know, after a while, Sean McDermott's defense works. Sean McDermott's scheme works, right? And I think after a while, defensively, you got to mix things up. But again, tough to complain. This defense went through so much. Didn't have Trey White to start the season. You know, Von Miller really getting involved with this team and this defensive line for the first time as well. But it's tough. I mean, some highlights too. Christian Benford, Kyer Elam was kind of coming along. Taron Johnson was doing very good. Unfortunate with Damar Hamlin, Micah Hyde going down, Jordan Poyer dislocating his elbow. Just a lot of injuries. Really, really rattled this defense. And one area on this defense we got to pay attention to is the interior on the defensive line, right? Ed Oliver, Jordan Phillips, even the signing of Shaq Lawson, DeQuan Jones was not there versus Cincinnati. I think that was definitely a big loss no one is talking about. DeQuan Jones was definitely having a decent season against the run. Ed Oliver, I feel like his ceiling is capped by the person and people he's surrounded with. So I really have to pair Ed Oliver with another threat. And it was kind of tough because Ed Oliver got hurt earlier in the season. Von Miller was there, and then Ed Oliver got back, and then Von Miller went down. So we really haven't seen the best of Ed Oliver, Von Miller being out there, DeQuan Jones. No, Jordan Phillips, Shaq Lawson. I think they did have great years. They had good seasons. Shaq Lawson's attitude when the season ended, just kind of using Buffalo to be another stopgap to find more money in free agency, which is fine, but I don't know. How is that for a locker room? How is that attitude amongst players? Hearing Shaq Lawson, I don't know. He clearly doesn't probably want to be here. He doesn't maybe probably like living around here. He probably wants to play somewhere warm, which I don't blame him. So it's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy, which leads me, before we get into the offense, leads me into the dome in our stadium, right? It concerns me. Yes, Western New York, I've lived here my entire life. We get snow, we live in the elements, but my whole philosophy with building a stadium and a team, knowing what we saw in a 17-year playoff drought and the Buffalo Bills, everything that we've dealt with, it's hard to bring free agents here. It's hard to bring players that want to play in Buffalo. Number one, high taxes in New York State. Also dealing with the weather, living in the weather, not just playing in it. So now that we're building this new stadium without a dome, we're still going to continue these players to play in it. Now, the reason why we were able to bring in guys like Von Miller and other top-notch free agents is because we're winning. But I'm scared that winning isn't always going to be here, and we're going to miss out on players simply because they don't want to play in the cold. They don't want to play in the snow. But to the real big issue here, and I think the letdown of the 2022 season for the Bills, was Josh Allen and this Buffalo Bills offense. And it really was just shaken up by injuries as well. It was shaken up by a poor offensive line play, thinking that we would be dominant this year. Starting with the offensive line, I think the biggest letdown this season was definitely Spencer Brown. 6'8", 6'9", Spencer Brown, really there to be dynamic against the pass and be good enough against the run. But at times, I really questioned why the Buffalo Bills weren't starting David Quessenberry at right tackle versus Spencer Brown. I feel like Quessenberry would have been the better player to start there, but we would have hindered the development of Spencer Brown. So I could see why we did that, I guess. But, Spencer Brown got beat often. Josh Allen was definitely rattled at times. So in Ryan Bates, I think he did decent, but they're average. This is an average offensive line. Roger Saffold is a great offensive lineman. Mitch Morris is a great offensive lineman. Deion Dawkins is too. But they're not dominant players. And it makes things tough. Makes things tough for Josh Allen. Now the wide receivers, depending on Gabe Davis this season to be that true number 2 wide receiver for the Bills, kind of going back to the playoffs against the Chiefs, scoring all those touchdowns, thinking that, hey, look, Gabe Davis is going to be the next big thing, and really wasn't. Kind of got struck by injury as well early in the season with his ankle, but now Gabe Davis, I don't know. What is the move? That was Gabe Davis's first year being a true number 2 wide receiver. We know how hard he works. We know the craft that Gabe Davis puts in the offseason. I don't know. Maybe he comes back even better. I'm sure, and I know Gabe Davis will come back better, but is that going to be good enough? And Stephon Diggs, obviously a lot of people saying he's getting mad, he's upset, he's not getting the ball, the scheme isn't going his way, and that is the biggest problem here, I really think, is Ken Dorsey being a first-time offensive coordinator for the Bills, kind of trying to evolve this offense. He said it countless times, and evolve it with a new offensive line coach, Aaron Kromer. And the biggest problem I see with this Buffalo Bills offense this year is that the run didn't complement the pass and the pass didn't complement the run. So what do I mean by that? When the Bills were in the I formation with James Cook or Devin Singletary and we ran it, right, and we were successful running it, Josh Allen couldn't pass it. Josh Allen was not successful, and we're not successful passing the ball when he's under center, right? Josh Allen in shotgun does an excellent job passing the football, balls out. But when Josh Allen's in shotgun and we have to hand the ball off in the draw, the RPO to James Cook or Devin Singletary, that's not their skill set. That's not where they're necessarily the best. And it's tough for the offensive line to block. It's tough to block in those situations. RPO is tough, and Aaron Cromer, to me, we saw it when he was here in Buffalo with LaShawn McCoy and Rex Ryan. That's just under center quarterback with Tyrod Taylor, handing the ball off, pounding teams in the face, balling out of control. And I don't know if it merged well with this offense. I understand evolving this offense, wanting to run the ball more, but the run is not complementing the pass, right? The run is not complementing the pass. Usually you get in the I formation, you run the ball, you pound it, play action, right? You open things up and you keep going from there. But I don't see that. I don't see that with Ken Dorsey in this offense at all. Other concerns offensively here is obviously free agent Devin Singletary going to free agency. I'm high on James Cook. I truly believe James Cook could easily be the number one running back for the Buffalo Bills going forward, especially knowing that we're going to be with Aaron Cromer and Ken Dorsey in this offense. It's going to be interesting. Going to be interesting to see how this goes. Plus, Nyheim Hines is there on the Bills too. And some other players here too is Dawson Knox. I think Dawson Knox had a halfway decent season, but would really, really like to see a little bit more, and kind of offensive scheme. Do a little bit more with their tight end. Early in the year, lack of targets for Dawson Knox, especially in the red zone. I mean, tight ends in the red zone are ideal. But, yeah, I mean, I think that pretty much summarizes this video for now. I just wanted to get this video out there for all my subscribers. I'm going to be driving across country again, so check out my other channel, Custodian of Earth. I'll link it down below so you guys can check it out. But if you like this, hit like, subscribe. Check you guys soon. Go Bills. Peace.